What happens to cop killers in prison? Obviously, I'm bringing this up due to what just happened to that young boy that was gunned down and assassinated as he was running away. Ask yourself, what would you do as a parent if that was your child? Wrong or right, if you see your kid get shot in the back, we've all done bad shit. And if that was your child, would you blame yourself and move on? Or would you blame yourself, filled with rage, anger, just completely heartbroken, and never to the end, to eternity, get your revenge? Only you know that answer, no matter what you put on the text. Now, most cop killers go to death row, but there's obviously different situations, like for Rodney. That is 100% insanity. You just saw your son get murdered. Now, whatever you think about that video of him running, when I watch it as an officer, why aren't you taking cover behind your car? Why aren't y'all trying to box him in? Why is it that you guys could not wait to shoot that young man and then show it to the father and expect him to just say it was all my fault? That's till the end. That's eternity. That's into the afterlife. You hurt my son. It never ends. Everybody looks the same after that. That was part of that. Anyway, so you have that situation, and people will almost treat you like a hero because you see it on the news all the time. And regardless of what side you stand on, I side with the side of reality. And growing up in the system, yes, people get killed, maimed, beaten, tortured, and they write it up as natural causes all the time in prison. You see my videos where they're taking organs out of bodies. People's heads are getting cut off. Officers beat me half to death before I got into the jail and after. So when people see that, it hits something different, because I could understand as a mom or a dad, say your kid was hurt by a predator and you reported it, and the cops don't give a fuck. They only care until the child is viciously hurt. Look how many times we've seen it with this young girl in Michigan, case after case, in Florida, all these young kids that DCF was there, Child Protective Services, the police were there. Look at Adam Montgomery. Nobody did a motherfucking thing until it was time to, because the kid was either dead, missing, or so badly hurt they had no choice. And how many times did the parents go to the cops and they just didn't care? So as someone growing up in that environment, and you see someone come in there, they killed an officer, you aren't looking at it as that was a person. You're looking at it as a corruption, a situation, a feeling in your heart of hearts that you're like, damn, I remember that. I remember that feeling. Like, that's how you look at an officer in prison. Now, don't get me wrong. There's many good law enforcement that do their job and protect and understand that every time you meet somebody, you're usually meeting them on the worst day of their life. But there's always been a little, basically, hatred between corrections officers and regular police officers. In county jail, it's ran by the deputies. Now, if you kill an officer in there, it's going to be all over the news, but they're going to try to torture you in there. They're going to try to beat the shit out of you, do little things to poison you, try to put you in positions to where you'll get hit up, to where they can use force, lethal force. Yet, if you did something, say like what Hinton did, for his son, the whole world is watching. And anything that happens is going to be front news. So they hate that. And they also know the corrections officers hate cops and cops hate corrections officers. Police think that the COs were too dumb to be police officers, and the corrections officers think that they are too scared to actually have to deal with criminals and not just pull over everybody, shoot kids in the back, do all types of crazy, nasty shit like we just saw with that state trooper that my next video will be, that was molesting and had all that just disgusting material on his work computer. Cain Velasquez, son was molested in a daycare. Their protocol is when they arrest an offender, immediate injunction, he has to move from there. There is no such thing as private property. They alert the father and mother of the victim. Well, they didn't. Well, Cain sees this guy out. I mean, what do you think he's going to do? And then do you think afterwards he's going to have any respect and look at the police and the agencies the same? But don't get it twisted. You have scenarios like what happened to Brooks. They would bring us into medical or blind spots where they know cameras and no recording devices could be, and beat us fucking senseless and say it was a natural cause or the dude had a seizure. But now that shit's everywhere now. And people are saying like, wait a minute, It ain't making sense. Yet, when you go to prison, they hide you. And yeah, there's a fucking rivalry between the COs and the police officers, but at the end of the day, they're all in this together. So they will put you in situations to make your life a living hell so they can get favors back and forth. That's the way the game works. Your life no longer matters. Yet when you sacrifice yourself for something you believe, fully commit to it, as this man did for his son, you understand that you also inspire other inmates who have been wronged, who have been shitted on, whose family's been hurt and deceived by Department of Corrections, by law enforcement, by DCF, to ride with him. All races, all color, all creed. Because this ain't some guy slinging dope that got into a shootout. This is a guy that just saw his son get murdered. And I've seen many times where the COs will push a cop killer, or in the county jail, laughing and mocking him. Oh, you're gonna get the death penalty. Not understanding that inmates that aren't as confined as him feel like you're fucking with their hero. And it's a sick, twisted mindset, or is it? Because I've seen so much corruption that nothing surprises me. There's no such thing as coincidences. So next thing you know, they're poisoning this guy, pushing him to the edge, and that officer gets, the deputy or the CO gets a shitty razor blade across his face. And he feels like he helped what he couldn't do when he was a child. The best police officers in the world are the ones that know lethal force is something you'll have to use eventually in your career, but it's not something you can't wait to use. It's something you try to avoid at all costs. And when anybody watches that, what happens is they want to lock down the units, because I watch that, I see myself running from the cops. And so does so many other people in that prison, in those jails. It reminds them of when they were a child, what they went through, the beatings they endured in youth offenders, juvenile programs, and all above. Not everybody experiences that, so their views are different. But if you've been in those situations and grew up in those situations, you know exactly what it is. The police will literally say, he's got a gun, because they're scared that you're gonna embarrass them, or they don't want to chase you, or they just want to kill you, and they'll write up the paperwork however they want. And maybe they'll get a manslaughter. Just like that guy who walked in that apartment, shot that lady who was cooking, she said, praise Jesus. She casted out that demonic spirit. How come we don't hear about that no more? Police who talk about that blue line, when a cop comes in, their brothers aren't there for them. They're all telling on each other, and the COs are like, oh, welcome to my world. And they go to protective custody, but as you saw with the guy who killed Floyd, or whatever you believe on that, he got stabbed 32 times in a federal protective custody unit. Now, there's many good officers that I met on my journey that I've seen growing up on the 12th floor when I was direct filed, charged as an adult at the age of 15, that taught me a lot, taught me how to be a man, how to shake a hand. I had no idea about that. I literally had no understanding. I was just a little kid on my first bid. Yet, when it goes and pops off, unfortunately, everybody has the same face. Say one of them beat the shit out of me, pepper sprayed me, or whatever, killed one of my friends in here, or, did some nasty shit to my family member that came to visit me. But that same officer that I respected and everything, he's got the same face as every single one of them. Because at the end of the day, they're a gang. And if you don't think so, then that's on you. I'm only speaking from my perspective. Law enforcement is there to protect your family. They're there. You call them, they'll be here. However, if your child is hurt, they won't go and arrest the child molester right away. They'll look at you like what is this about? It's about a relationship. Like, they'll literally treat you like you are the offender. And then you have a choice to make. Do I sit here and allow this person to protect my son, my daughter, or do I take matters in my own hands? Or do I really sit down at a table with a bunch of officers showing me a 6-second grainy clip? That's the way it is. It's the reality. People don't want to hear this, and I understand. But just because we have difference of opinions doesn't mean it's not reality. If you guys can cheer on the fact that I torture child molesters in prison, then you have to understand I was that same kid running away from the police. Stay out, stay free, us.